Tesla stock, it's way up 100% year to date. Have you picked up any more Tesla stock this year? And would you consider buying at current levels?
Yeah, I picked up some at the very beginning of this year. It was a brutal year for all of us Tesla shareholders to have to go through last year. It was, very, very brutal. But at the end of 2022 and specifically going into this year, the stock is just very undervalued. For anybody that has a longer term outlook on Tesla, very undervalued. So I actually bought some shares for the first time in a long time, as in since 2019. And so instead of just being a holder of the stock, I was a buyer. No, for me personally, I'm not going to add any more Tesla shares here now that the stock's 250 plus. Not that I think it's not a good deal. You can still make probably a good amount of money over the next few years in Tesla stock. Just for me personally, it's already a huge position for me. I already have, I believe it's over $400,000 in that stock. And so for me, that's a really good sized position. And I feel comfortable with kind of my level of risk in regards to Tesla. I've had as much as around probably close to $1 million or maybe even over $1 million at one point in Tesla stock. And so for me, kind of in that 400,000 to 500,000 range feels about right. But yeah, you could say if I didn't own Tesla, would I be buying Tesla shares? The answer to that is probably. There's a lot of very appetizing deals out there in the market right now, but yeah, Tesla is still it's still undervalued. The forward P, people look at the forward P, they think, it's got to be very overvalued. When you look at the growth rates that the company should command over this next several years, it's not nearly as overvalued as it might look on first surface when you look at a forward P or something like that.
So, considering Tesla stock primarily from a stock point of view, from an investment point of view, what are the key metrics or things you're looking out for, whether it's top line growth or bottom line growth over the next few years?
Yeah, obviously revenue is always going to be, first and foremost when it comes to Tesla. Are they able to continue to put up, very nice double-digit growth, as in 25% numbers, 35% numbers in good times and hot years, maybe 45% numbers. We'll see what Cybertruck puts up. That should be very impressive. Gross margin, extremely important in regards to Tesla. And obviously in regards to Tesla's margins, they've taken certainly a hit over the past few quarters as a lowered price, right? And we really want to see margin stabilization, and then we want to see margins hopefully start trending back up, especially in the back half of this year and moving into future years. And then the bottom line is obviously very, very important for this company. At the end of the day, Tesla, from the masses, Tesla look at Tesla as an auto manufacturer. And if you're an auto manufacturer, you got to put up those extremely impressive net income numbers, those extremely impressive EPS numbers, because that gets everybody off your back in terms of looking at it from just a valuation standpoint of your profitability, your P ratio, your forward P ratio, and things like that. So those are three main metrics I'm looking at personally. I'm actually excited to see the growth in the energy business. I mean, that business has never really it's never really what's been attracting me to Tesla. But I've seen some of the business and some of their storage products and whatnot in some of these recent numbers that I'm absolutely blown away with. So that's a business line I'm actually very excited to see over this next 1 to 2 years and in what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. Energy growth it's kind of gone parabolic. They've just launched their mega factory in California. They've got another one announced in China. What do you think the playbook could be there for the energy? Do you think they could just start banging out these factories all over the world like they've been doing gigafactories?
It's a potential. The reason the energy business has never really gotten my interest as much is because that's a harder business for me to see how big the opportunity really is. And I would put it like this. I kind of almost feel like somebody would have felt if they were investing in Amazon stock back in, let's say, 2008, 2010, 2012, before Amazon was really respected from AWS. Because back then, people really just looked at Amazon as this big e-commerce company, right? Kind of like most people look at Tesla right now as just this big auto company. And so for me, it's hard for me to say what they can scale to, what they can do revenues there. For me, I just look at it as a cherry on top, and it's this huge opportunity that I don't know how big it is. I don't know, if this is a $20 billion business down the road, or 30 billion, or 50 billion, or 100 billion, and that's pretty exciting to me. I look at Tesla just on the auto business, and I feel like the stock's undervalued. That energy business is the AWS, in my opinion. Just it's a cherry on top that we'll see how big it grows to. But I'm very excited.
And we've had news recently from the Fed that they are halting rate hikes. What exactly will happen for the rest of the year, we don't know. But interest rates has a very big impact on the auto market. The higher the rates, the higher the monthly costs of new vehicles, the less people are buying them. It's as simple as that, pretty much. Are we at the light at the end of the tunnel then for this slowdown in the auto market as rates haven't been raised, which is quite a big moment?
Yes, it's a big moment. I don't think we're necessarily out of the woods yet. I think this is still an overhang for Tesla and all auto manufacturers, to be honest, but I think it's specifically an overhang for Tesla. The other big kind of negative thing outside of just interest rates is consumer confidence, which consumer confidence has been in a pretty bad place for at least, I would say, about 18 months now at this point in time, 12 to 18 months. And so consumer confidence has improved a little bit off the lows of 2022, which we saw about the lowest we've ever seen in terms of consumer confidence. But I would say between if we can get interest rates to hopefully start going down at some point next year, I think that could be definitely a tailwind for Tesla's business rather than a headwind that's going forward. But ultimately, consumer confidence as well, because let's be honest, the going to purchase an auto, it's the second biggest purchase for almost everybody out there, right? You got people go to buy a home, buy a car. The car is usually the second biggest purchase in somebody's life. And if you're not confident, if you're not feeling great about your financial situation, you're not going to go spend $50,000, $40,000, $60,000 on a Tesla. That's just bottom line with that. So two overhangs. I feel like we might be getting in a better place, but I'm very kind of, I would call it middle of the road in regards to my feeling on that. I don't feel like we're out of the woods yet. I feel like we have potential, but don't get too excited yet.
Yeah. Okay. When I consider investments, sometimes I think, it's really good to simplify your thought process. And sometimes I simplify it into two things. One is the current growth rate. And then the second is how many years of growth. Now, when you think about Tesla from this point of view, is it kind of the holy grail of stocks? Because not only is there potentially a high growth rate, that high growth rate could be around for a decade, 2 decades, with the amount of other call options they've got in the business. How do you sort of think about that?
Yeah. So I think about it a few ways. For Tesla, I look out and I really try to view like the next 3 to 5 years. And although it's very fun to think about the next 10 years, the next 20 years with Tesla, it is hard to forecast, right? And for a lot of us Tesla shareholders, we've heard it for a million years now. The competition's coming. The competition's coming. We've heard it for certainly as long as I've been a shareholder, and even before that. And Jim Chanos going on CNBC and all these folks, right? The competition's coming. And the one thing I will say is it looks like the competition is finally trying to enter the market in a more serious way this year, next year. And we'll see if it's actually any competition. So far, we haven't seen these other players really cause any sort of damage in regards to Tesla's business model. And I'll say we're going to have a lot more clarity over the next 24 months. Because if we still don't see Tesla's business model being hurt from the competition 24 months out, then I think that gets a lot easier to run numbers and projections for Tesla over the next 5-10 years, right? Because then you got that kind of out of the way. Right now, we're still trying to see like what are all these other auto manufacturers doing. They're having a lot of problems trying to ramp EVs at all right now, and they're also having demand issues. That's the other problem, and that's what kind of is giving me confidence about, do people really want EVs, or do they just want a Tesla? Because I'm looking in Lucid, for an example, that is seen as they're supposed to have a really good product. They're having a lot of demand issues when it comes to Lucid, and you got to say, why is that, right? And so in regards to Tesla, it's a very exciting story. But if you're trying to run projections on Tesla, you need to run it, I think, 5 different scenarios. You need to run a ultra bearish scenario. You need to run a bearish scenario. Your middle case, so this is like your base case, I call it. What you think, like if you had to put your life on a line, that's the case you think, right? You need to run a bull case and a super bullish case, okay? And you need to run different revenue projections on what you think are realistic under those different scenarios in gross margins, and then what do you think can be actually the bottom line? And I think you can do that for about the next 5 years. But the next 10 years, I think it's much more difficult because we know the landscape obviously changes over time. And Tesla right now has a huge advantage over the competition. Do they keep the pedal to the metal? I think so. But that's obviously not always a possible thing to predict. Maybe they lose their competitive edge at some point. I hope not. I think they got it, but we shall see.
So, speaking about competition, Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, recently did an interview and he was talking about how they're struggling to scale batteries, how it's a much more difficult task to do than they initially thought. Then he was also talking about the sort of in car operating system, which Tesla's completely crushed, and they're trying to catch up with that because they've got so many different suppliers, and then each bit of software, whether it's like the seat module or anything like that, is all coded in a different way. It can't all be linked up. Do you, both those things I just mentioned are two examples, but do you think it's just going to be so much harder for competition to catch up than people think? And then are you optimistic for competition catching up in the next few years, or do you think it maybe won't happen?
Yeah, and so one of my theses always on Tesla was everything Tesla's doing is so far ahead of the competition, and this is going to be way harder for these folks to accomplish. Let's be honest. A lot of these auto manufacturers put off EVs as a serious thing until really the past few years, and all of a sudden you heard all these announcements over the past 1 to 3 years from all these auto manufacturers. Oh, we're going to spend $10 billion, $20 billion, $30 billion, $50 billion on EV. And I think they're all realizing this is a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. And no one ever gave Tesla the credit for that. And you can't just throw money at something and think it's going to magically work out. You need the right engineers, you need the right culture, you need the right team, you need the right vision from the top that gets everybody inspired to go after that, right? And also, you're trying to beat a company that's already way ahead of you, which is a very tough thing to do. And so everybody's coming to that realization of like, dang, we should have been investing in this technology in a serious way 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when Tesla was. And when Tesla was being laughed at as this money furnace company that was burning all this money. And what are they doing over there? But this happens in business. I mean, you could say, why didn't Walmart become Amazon? Right? I mean, Walmart, if we go back 20 years ago, Amazon, 20 years ago, 2003, Amazon was a complete joke compared to Walmart. You couldn't even compare those companies. It was almost laughable, right? And yet here Amazon came and they just ate Walmart's lunch. And now, Amazon's a company that's substantially larger, probably 3x to 5x the market cap, I would guess today, than a company like Walmart, which 20 years ago, once again, it was a joke. And Walmart should have beat them. But Walmart didn't invest the way Amazon invested in the warehouses, the network, e-commerce, and take it serious. And then Walmart tried to enter the game way late, and look what they get for it, right? And so that's the problem with all these auto manufacturers. But for the auto manufacturers, a lot worse. For auto manufacturers, a lot worse than it is for Walmart. At the end of the day, a lot of people are still going to go into Walmart. Internal combustion engine demand is just going to continue to go down rapidly over this next 5 to 10 years. And that's a huge issue for these guys because they're trying to get this new technology. And that's why I've always said, people have asked me for years, oh, why not buy Ford stock? Why not buy GM? It's trading at a PE of 5, 4, 6, whatever, right? Some disgusting. And at the end of the day, why would I want to take that risk, even at a PE of 5, when that company is being completely disrupted and they've got to change their technologies completely? They got to change the company culture, the way they do their business models, dealership networks, taking that out of the fold, supercharger networks, right? Which they're now trying to just, cling on to Tesla for these supercharger networks. Yeah, they're finding out, damn, we should have taken this serious 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because we would have been in a lot better spot. But now we're a little late to this game and we're finding out it's harder than we thought.
Yeah. And as you say, the legacy auto was late to the game. They didn't get Tesla, they didn't get the EV revolution. But also potentially some people that don't fully get it yet is institutional investors. There's still a relatively low level of institutional investment into Tesla. Do you think Wall Street gets Tesla yet? And if not, when will they? What's it going to take?
I think Wall Street gets the auto business of Tesla. I think there's a few things Wall Street doesn't quite get yet. I think it's the energy business, and trying to figure out what's the TAM there, what could that be. I think it's the autonomous taxi network opportunity, which honestly, in my opinion, Tesla shouldn't really get credit for that. You shouldn't get credit for a business you haven't even technically launched yet. So even in my opinion, I know some Tesla bulls will disagree with me on that. My opinion on that is don't give them credit for that yet, right? But they don't understand that opportunity, how big that opportunity is. And the other component I think Wall Street doesn't get yet, they will in a few years from now, but they don't yet, is a services opportunity. And they missed this when it came to Apple as well. Apple had this beautiful services business that you could tell was going to become in my opinion, the second most important business for Apple, only after the iPhone business. And sure enough, it became that, right? And so with Tesla, the services opportunity is massive. The supercharger network opportunity, finally, people are starting to wake up to this because of obviously the Ford and GM deal. Then you have Tesla auto insurance. You have premium connectivity in the cars, right? Things are going to break on cars over time. Tesla's going to have that sort of opportunity, right? Once cars are out of warranty and you have more and more on the road, batteries are going to need to be replaced. There's a million different things. And so the services opportunity in Tesla is so massive, and so many products that are going to be in that services category that we don't even see today that are going to come out over the next 3 years, 7 years, 10 years. And so I think there's a lot that they don't get yet around Tesla, but they're going to come around. They'll come around, and especially once the numbers start to hit. The only reason Tesla really had that huge ramp up in the stock price starting in 2019, going into 2020, 2021, right, was because they put the numbers up. Once Tesla keeps putting up these numbers, then it becomes undeniable, and Wall Street says, dang, you know what? We got to buy this baby. So.
And we've just had a pretty epic 13-day rally for Tesla stock, closing green every single day, day after day. Do you think when this penny drops, do you think it will be a penny drop moment for Wall Street, or do you think it's going to be slowly building their confidence? I'm sort of wondering if there's just going to be this moment where they all just start piling in because, they just doesn't seem to be that intelligent sometimes, does it?
Well, good point. But Tesla has always been that stock, to be honest. It's always been that stock that made these incredible runs that makes the bears say, this is ridiculous bubble. This has to crash. This has to come down. What is going on, right? It's always been that stock. When you look at some of these moves the stock has made since it went public back in 2010 or 2011 when Tesla went public, right? And you look back to some of these moves the stock made in past years, they're shocking. And they're like, that stock went up hundreds of percent in a snap of fingers, 1,000% in a matter of, 2 years, and just mind blowing. But Tesla's that sort of stock. It's one of those stocks that, it's down and out for a bit, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. It's not doing anything. It seems dormant. And then it just goes on this crazy run. And obviously, coming off of 2014 all the way through basically the first half of 2019, that stock didn't go anywhere for 5-6 years. It went up, it went down, it went nowhere. And then it made this absolutely massive move. And so we could definitely be at a moment, if the economy stays decent, that we could be at in another moment right now that's making this epic move that people are just going to be shocked by. And other stocks are like that. It's not the only stock in the market. Nvidia comes to mind, which is always obviously on top of everybody's mind. Nvidia's so overvalued. It's a bubble. I hear them on TV. They've been saying that since it was 150. Then it was 200, 250, 300, 400 and plus now. And because the stock's going up so much doesn't mean always it's a bubble. It just means people are realizing it's a bigger opportunity than some folks realized before.
Definitely. And I think the charging infrastructure play is kind of this moment where Wall Street or the general public's realizing, this really could be a huge opportunity here in Tesla. So we've had these announcements from Ford and GM. Do you think all EV companies or all legacy auto is going to have to pile in and join them here?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a great question. It's a potential. I don't think it's all going to happen right now, but it could definitely play out over the next few years. Because the way I'm thinking about this is, especially with Ford and GM now wanting to jump on the Tesla supercharger network, is we know Tesla's always building more superchargers. And the way I view with Tesla building more superchargers is it gives them even a bigger moat around that business because they have even more locations, more, just chargers in a particular location where, it might have been at this restaurant or whatever. They had 4, then they have 6, then they have 8, then they have 10. And so the more jump on Tesla supercharger network, the more I think our others are going to also jump on because they're going to realize, damn, they just got them everywhere. They've got the most capability, and it's a bad financial decision for us not to jump on to the Tesla supercharger network. So Elon's playing a high level game of checkers, or excuse me, chess. Elon's playing a high level game of chess in this whole situation, and I think a lot of folks are not realizing the level he's playing at, and it's brilliant, man. It's such an Elon move. Seeing the Ford announcement, seeing that GM announcement just made me say, gosh, that is such an Elon move. That is beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's quite a landmark moment as well because now Tesla is making service margins off vehicles they didn't even produce. I think that is crazy. Do you think this could maybe pave the way for Tesla to have FSD partnerships in the future?
Ooh, that's a good question too. I think that definitely is a potential because that's another technology that, let's be honest, almost every company is massively behind and is basically just hoping somebody solves it so they can adapt that technology in their cars. Let's just be honest about that, okay? And so as Tesla has that, it's definitely, I think it's definitely a potential that Tesla could go that route if they want to go that route. But there's always been a lot of talk about these different kind of concepts and what Tesla could do and how much they want to partner with others and all these sorts of things. And I remember there used to be talk about the skateboard, like basically Tesla selling the bottom of a car to all the other auto manufacturers and other auto manufacturers putting their kind of bodies on and kind of doing things that way. So there's a lot of capabilities. Tesla doing major partnerships for batteries potentially in the future. There's so much there. It's just a question of what does Tesla want to actually give up versus not, and what does Elon really view as core technology that he's just absolutely not willing to partner with, versus it makes financial sense. And it's not uncommon for companies to partner with even their competition. A good example of this in an industry is Samsung. Almost every single time you buy an iPhone, you're actually giving money to Samsung because usually there's different Samsung components in an iPhone. And so I think, that's always been a kind of a brilliant thing that Samsung does because they're in many different business lines and they help a lot of other companies succeed, right? But it's funny because I'm almost viewing Tesla as like it's Apple, but it's also Samsung, and so it's kind of a beautiful thing they got going on there. But yeah, the potential there is just massive for them to partner if Elon wants to go that route.
When you think about FSD from a financial point of view moving forward, obviously the robo taxi opportunity, it's fun to run the numbers, bit of a pipeline dream, and we know from your perspective, you don't necessarily model all of that. But do you think from a level 4 or a level 3 autonomy point of view, that's kind of certain we're going to be getting at least around there? That's a massive subscription opportunity, especially when you consider all the safety features which could come along with a car operating at a high level 3 or level 4 level. Do you think that's kind of in the bag for Tesla, and that alone will be a massive revenue and profit driver moving forward?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that that's going to be a major profit driver, specifically, even more so than revenue, in my opinion, because obviously, the tech's built out and then it's just like straight profit for Tesla when they sell that. But what I think is going to be bigger for Tesla long term is what I think is going to happen is I think the majority of people that use FSD, true FSD, right? The whole deal, the holy real deal Holyfield. That's going to be folks that, in my opinion, are going to be paying a monthly fee for that to use that. And right now, I believe Tesla charges, I think it's $199 a month to have that capability. I really think it could be extremely compelling at 99. I know a lot of people have trouble paying that 199 a month because obviously some people just have the money like that. It's like, who cares? But a lot of people, the masses, 199 a month might be a little much. So if Tesla could ever bring it down to actually $99 a month, I think this would be almost a no-brainer where almost every single person that has a Tesla would be like, it's less than $100 a month to have true FSD in my car. I'm going to get that. And that goes right onto that services line item again. And that's a recurring revenue stream. And the most beautiful business models in the world are ones that have recurring revenue streams. Amazon Web Services, Intuit with what they have with QuickBooks, right? TurboTax products, Adobe, what Adobe has in their product suite. These are some of the best business models in the world. Apple, even because of their services business, and always just you're recurring. I pay for Apple Music every month and Apple Cloud and all this different stuff, right? And I don't even know I'm being charged for it. It's $10 here, $20 there. Those are the best business models. And so I can see with Tesla, I think that's going to be the bigger opportunity because not everybody wants to dish out of pocket $7,000, $10,000, whatever, for this FSD that they haven't even probably really tried that much. That they're like, I don't know about this. The people that are super into technology, they'll get it and have a lot of money, right? But a lot of other people are like $7,000, $10,000, $12,000 extra. I don't know about that. Oh, 99 bucks a month if they ever did that. That is a much easier sell because then you're just trying it. 199, 299, so it gets a little tough.
Yeah. One thing I definitely learned as Tesla were lowering their prices is the lower the price, there's then an exponential increase in demand. This is for the car prices. Elon says the value of FSD is high. That's why he's pricing it high. But I think you're right there. I think moving it from 199 to 99 could 10x demand. And then that makes financial sense.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Elon will always make the best decision long term. But my thought is it's got to be the value proposition to people has to be so compelling. A lot of people do still like to drive. And a lot of people feel like they probably don't really need FSD that much. So, like every once in a while, it might be nice. If you live in LA, you might love it. If you live in New York City, you might love it. A very congested city that has a lot of traffic. But for a lot of people, they're like, I don't know, man. And so the value there has to be so compelling that it makes people say, you know what, this is amazing. I'm willing to pay for this. And that's when you have a true success. And you look at even Tesla's vehicles. Tesla gives you the best bang for the buck for any auto manufacturer in the world now at this point in time. When you look at what they're doing with Model 3, Model Y, the value is so compelling. And so it doesn't really matter what Elon thinks or what we think in terms of this technology is so amazing. You should pay a lot of money for this. At the end of the day, it comes down to what is a customer willing to pay for that? Are they willing to pay $3,000 a year to utilize that technology, or are they willing to pay $1,200 a year? $100 a month, $200 a month, $300 a month, and yeah, my thought process is when you get under that 100 price point, I think that's when you can really get a lot of people to say, I can tell you, I don't have full FSD on either of my Teslas, right? Why don't I have it? Well, if it was 99, damn it, I would. I would. I don't have it right now, but I can tell you if tomorrow Tesla put it at 99 bucks, I'm putting it on both the cars. Something to think about. Elon.